I am super aware that I have a sty. So, like, is this arguably better or... Hi there. I love a finished poem, but am equally fascinated about how, why, and when it was written. I think the process of getting to that final draft holds a lot of meaning, and two things that I've been trying to practice doing more are editing out poems and actually talking about my work out loud. So I thought I would combine them today by walking through how I revisited the poem Scrabble Swords. I wrote Scrabble Swords back during 2020's 30 for 30 challenge and the initial breakout of COVID-19. There was a disappointing rise in racial hate towards people of color. I remember being afraid to leave my apartment in my own skin, feeling disappointed and scared, even keeping up online with what was happening. At the risk of oversharing, I was also simultaneously going through a period of healing myself after some truths came to surface in my personal life. It was a time when everything felt fake, like I couldn't trust what I had heard, was hearing, or reading anymore. Instead, for me, pictures, footage, visual media were more so the reliable realities. With words, it felt like people could say whatever they thought you wanted to hear, whatever would protect them, make them look good, parading their support and loyalty through heartfelt paragraphs, captions, everyday sweet nothings. But video recordings of physical violence and archived media evidence of betrayal can't always be as skillfully manipulated, or at least back then, before all this AI came about. Basically, I was sad, turned to 30 for 30 for refuge, and realized that writing was my own way of protecting myself too. So I wrote this poem about that. The most updated version of Scrabble Swords is in fact on my channel, but there was an original version that I posted and archived, and today I'm going to read that to you and kind of walk through how I reworked the poem. Okay, I'm going to hide all that away. And then this can go down and the glasses are going on. Like, you're getting the entire behind the scenes look at how I function as a human being today. So, would it help if I just... Words are the most dangerous weapons I know. They don't cut how pictures do, because at least See, there's a reason why I changed this, because I do not like how this flows. Words are the most dangerous weapons I know. They don't cut how pictures do, because at least with pictures or moving pictures, you can check whether the smiles were there. Every tainted dance of an eye is caught and bitten to truth. But syllabic picture... See, in 2020, I thought the word picturesque was pronounced picture skews. And poor, wonderful Connor brought it to light that it is in fact picturesque. And that just sort of explained everything rhythmatically within my writing before that moment, alas. But syllabic picturesque, they lock places away, draping flowers and star-dusted crowns, too marble to which you won't dare to ask of truth. And if you can't ask, this is why I write. Because you only hurt as much as you want to hurt. And so I perfect personas until I won't, and things don't hurt me. It's pretty good for 2020, and how fucking sad. It's still sad right now, but you know what I mean. Okay, so let's see. Genuinely, I have the other version pulled up on a laptop over here. Full behind the scenes. I've learned a lot about why and how I rhyme within the last 6 years. Words are the most dangerous weapons I know. That's fun. They don't cut how pictures do. I liked that rhythm and I wanted to hold on to that a little bit more. So I was trying to figure out what would rhyme well with do, and I found the word cues. And so I kept pictures and put every... Just changed the verb. So now it goes, words are the most dangerous weapons I know. They don't cut how pictures do, because every picture cues. And it just makes me so happy. You can check whether the smiles were there. I wrote it into whether he and her were there. Oop. Just to be utterly specific. It just felt a little bit more what my voice sounds like now. And then I kept the rest of the stanza the same because I actually really liked it. To me, all of this sounds rhythmatically in tune. I felt like with the previous version, it just sort of went on and then came back to something really short, which is again something I still do, but it doesn't go on for as long before it goes back to the shorter rhythm. It just makes more sense in my brain. Second stanza. The syllabic picturesque, they lock places away, draping flowers and stardust crowns, to marvel to which you won't ask of truth. I know I liked that last part, and I know I like that first line. It's always the middle that screws me over, and that's just genuinely how I write. I either start with the last sentence or I start with the first, and then I try to connect the two. I don't know where I learned that from. I don't know why I do that. That's why sometimes the middle of the stanza or even the middle of my poems go somewhere completely unrelated. And I think that says a lot about how I try to figure things out and how genuinely my writing is an illustration of how I process things. I know where I'm at. I know where I want to be at the end of this process. No idea what the middle is, and I have to just write in order to get to the understanding, you know? And so that's why the middle isn't always perfect. That's also why going back to it a couple years later is so fun, because you have more knowledge and you can flesh out what that whole middle section is trying to say. But syllabic picturesque. I think with this new understanding of how to pronounce this word, like how to actually pronounce it, I really leaned into the same pattern of like rhyming that I did in the first stanza. So glances are pressed is what I changed it to, because I wanted to give more information about what he and her were doing, and I liked the rhyme of picturesque and pressed. And then I wanted to sort of illustrate this book imagery that I just saw, like photo albums, but I also like the idea of dried pressed flowers and how that is also a form of memory keeping. I then moved this idea up here because I already knew that's what I wanted to say. Because again, this is like the middle stanza and we were a couple years out. And so I was like, okay, let's just get to that point and see what else we can find. I did for you not dare to ask of truth, just so that it makes a little bit more sense, you know, with where we were going. And then we went back to flowers. For the flowers, they dried within, dried within each page. And I liked marvel, so I wanted to keep that in there and describe the flowers the same way. Marvel is so pretty. That's something else I like to do is, and people have pointed this out to me in the last couple of years, is like a really complicated word and then a more day-to-day word next to each other is something that I really like doing. I think the juxtaposition is really nice, and it also just makes the poem feel a lot less heavy when you're reading it. Okay, you don't have to dictionary.com every single fucking word that you're reading. You actually feel like you understand a lot of it. That's how it felt like when I was learning English through word of mouth and Vietnamese through word of mouth. Why are there all these complicated words? But then there's a pretty, like I know what that means and I hold on to that, and then through context clues I figure out what the rest of the sentence is. And so tell me you're bilingual without telling me you're bilingual. And then honestly I didn't like any of that, so I got rid of it. Reading it all the way through, I was trying to figure out what I was trying to say with the flowers in the book and things being locked in place. With this last sentence, I wanted to kind of explain why all of this imagery was presented to the reader, and so I literally spelled it out for them. So the tales they tell are just that. I always like to go back to the beginning after I finish every single stanza just to see where I'm at with my thought process, and two, how does it sound, and then I can enter the next stanza with a clear understanding of what else needs to be said. Words are the most dangerous weapons I know. They don't cut how pictures do, because every picture cues whether he and her were there. Every tainted dance of an eye is caught and beaten to truth. But syllabic picturesque glances are pressed, for you not dare to ask of truth. For the flowers they dry within each page, marvel so pretty. So the tales they tell are just as pretty too. I don't know if you can hear, I can hear it, hopefully you can hear it. There's like a clear repetition of rhythm from stanza 1 to 2. I felt like with the previous version there wasn't that much of a through line, but also again I was like 20 writing this, almost 21. My 21st birthday was in fact during the pandemic. Okay, last stanza. And if you ask, this is why I write. Nobody's asking me, so I got rid of that. I am asking myself, let's be totally honest. I wanted this last stanza to be more so, even more confessional, because I was already starting to confess with that last line. When, if I can, I write. It's just a more vulnerable way of sharing. I believe that if you want someone to be vulnerable with you, you have to be vulnerable first. I'm just gonna give you this information because I can. And I want to, and I hope this serves as an invitation for you to talk, because I know a lot more about myself than I know about you. I love this line. So obviously I kept it. I perfect personas. And then I kind of realized that Scrabble Swords wasn't in the poem at all. It needed to go somewhere, and I thought this would be a great place. That Scrabble Swords. Within my revision of my work, specifically in like the early part of my 20s, I just named things without much thought. Like I just was like, oh, Scrabble Swords is what I'm trying to talk about, is swords, you know, but with words. Scrabble. Fun little alliteration for you, but I'm just not gonna explain any of it. And so here is me being even more clear. Sort of the overall theme of my revisions is I'm just learning that I can be flowery. I don't have to reject it, but there has to be a little bit of a bridge for the reader. If I can't even understand it sometimes, like how are they going to understand it at all at first read? And then I think I swapped this around and tried to see what I was doing, and I just got rid of it. But then I read everything and there wasn't a through line between the pictures and the words. And so I added, and the things I see no longer. You know, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to write so that I myself am also lying, but in a way that is actually beneficial for me. And that's it. If you want to hear what this sounds like altogether, it's up on my channel. I know this was super new. I've been looking for content where people just kind of sit and do. And I haven't really been finding that. Any creators who are doing more process-based content, please send them my way. But I wanted to try this out because I have a lot of fun asking people to dissect what they read, whether it's my poems or someone else's work. And then they ask me what my thought process is, how I got there, and why not do more of that? Because I think when you break it down line by line like this, it's not as intimidating as people think it is, and it doesn't have to be. Poetry can be whatever you want. This was my process. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like this format. Go check out the latest draft of Scrabble Swords and my video documenting the process where I wrote 30 poems in 30 days. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.